In 1988, Metallica broke the metal stereotype. No, I don't mean the music video. I'm talking about creating one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest songs in their entire catalog, and they did so by slowing way down and even cutting the distortion a little bit. Today we're going to break down the tones of Injustice for All's Harvester of Sorrow. There's a common misconception in metal that the faster you play a song, the more distortion you use, the heavier the song will be. The fastest song in their catalog is Master of Puppets at 220 beats per minute. But then the second fastest song in their catalog is Fuel. I'm going to make a case for the opposite of that being true. Metallica has never been afraid to evolve and do things a little bit differently, and they've been doing so their entire careers. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, country music. And Injustice for All would be their fourth and most progressive album to date. Harvester of Sorrow was not only the slowest song on the album, clocking in at just 93 beats per minute, it was also the slowest song they had recorded on any of their albums prior. Since Harvester of Sorrow had such a tight, slow riff, the band's rhythm guitar player, James Hetfield, decided to roll back the distortion a bit on this one, and it really just helped to let all of those notes be much clearer. A lesson I like to think he learned from Tony Iommi? Who knows? Today I'm playing a custom-built James Hetfield replica ESP. This actually started life as a Gibson, and I had it stripped and painted and given an ESP logo so it looks like his. And I absolutely love this guitar. It has EMG pickups, an 81 in the bridge, and a 60 in the neck. Now before getting into tone, I want to debunk a few myths. Starting with Kill 'Em All, James Hetfield used a Marshall amp, JMC 800, and a Rat distortion pedal. On Ride the Lightning, he also used a JMC 800 with a tube screamer. After that, they were able to get their Boogie amplifiers. They got Mesa Boogie Mark II C+s. There was no longer a need for any kind of distortion pedal on those that had more than they possibly needed. Kirk's was modded to run a Boogie preamp into a Marshall for the power section. James Hetfield did not do that with his. I don't know why people keep thinking that. Probably because Kirk did. They assume James did. Not the case. He used a regular Mesa Boogie Mark II C+. Now let's talk about cabinets. This area is way less clear, and that's unfortunate because so much of the tone comes from the cabinet. The speakers make all the difference. I know at least on Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning they were using a 4x12 cab with Celestion 65 watt G12s, and you can really hear that speaker. It has a very unique tone to it, and I'll be showing you that in a later video, but for now let's skip ahead to the Injustice for All album. There isn't a lot of information out there. Kirk Hammett had an interview where he said they switched to vintage 30s around 88 or 89. The Black Album was full of vintage 30s and probably some Marshall cabinets. But he said before that he was using 75 watt Celestion G12s instead of the earlier 65 watts. And I believe Hetfield probably would have also done the same thing. I don't believe they were vintage 30s on that album. And I've tried my setup with the 65 watt G12s, which sound exactly like the Ride the Lightning album. And I tried it with the 75 watt G12s also, and it just sounded way more like the 75 watt version. So that's what I'm going with for this video. Now let's get into the fun part, which is the actual tone. You can hear this. Brand new strings and everything. Sorry if it's a little bit out of tune. I don't think it is, but I haven't checked it in a bit. But most of the album is fully saturated almost with gain, and you can hear that. We'll play a little. if we play Harvester of Sorrow with that much gain, we get... which sounds pretty cool, and pretty much every YouTube video on that song sounds like that. But we're going to cut it down a little bit, and I'll show you what that sounds like. I just cut the gain from 9.5 down to about 7.5, and now listen to it. Way more clear. It's not quite as muddy as it was earlier, and if it sounds weak at all, it's because you're listening to one guitar and not 4 layers of guitars. You'll be able to hear that a little bit later. I don't want to get too heavy into every little setting that I did. I just want to say the Injustice for All album and the Master of Puppets album had very similar tones, and there's a book you can get, really great book by the way, where the producer shows all of his little drawings, all of his amp settings that he took notes on, and I basically set the amp up similar to that and adjusted a little bit because they adjusted so much during post-processing, and you're not going to find that in any of the notes, so you just got to kind of use your ears for this one. The main thing is to use that amp, no overdrive pedal, use a 4x12 with 75 G12s if you have that available, and you're going to be able to get that tone really close. Having said all of that, now I'm going to take that tone along with the clean tone. I'm going to record probably the first minute of the song. I'm going to do the drums and everything, and you can hear how all of those tones sound together in a mix. Hope you enjoy this because it's going to be a lot of work.